Welcome to the Pump and Dump channel for another video. Just quickly looking at the natural gas situation here with some news. Chesapeake, so they early this week declared bankruptcy, or they said that in the process here. You can see this is the key sentence in the press release. They say they will operate in the ordinary course during the Chapter 11 process. So Chapter 11 here is about restructuring their debt, but they're going to keep producing in order to manage to repay as much debt as possible. It's just the equity holders who are going to be destroyed, and that's just the way it works. As long as the prices are above the marginal cost for them to produce, and they can manage to repay some of the fixed costs like the debt, then they will operate. So looking at the futures market here, how they interpret this news. Friday we did have some green here, I guess in anticipation of Chesapeake. Some people obviously knew. And then on Monday we had this big move up. It took us to the upper band of this this downward channel that I have kind of here. And on Tuesday it took us above. It took us back inside of this bear flag formation that I had talked about as a possibility for the natural gas price. I talked about this during, I think it was during this bear flag when we broke down, that it was possible that going into the August contract we would come back up into this this channel here, and we have done that because of course rolling into the August contract, which is higher than the July contract, it's yeah, it's quite clear that there is that possibility that we do jump unless the August contract just craters and goes really low, and it did go low. I think it must have jumped around here somewhere, and we broke above this upper trend line, so it does look like it's potentially reversed. But this is kind of what the futures people are kind of indicating from probably just reading the headlines of Chesapeake Energy going bankrupt and then making their own conclusion about supply and demand, and thinking that bankruptcy means less supply. And yeah, it's gone up. Now for Wednesday it's looking down. If we look at two stocks just to compare, CNX and Cabot Oil and Gas. So CNX bottomed also on Friday, and it's been going sideways in the range. I think here the situation is important to understand in terms of the valuation. The valuation was justified at 850 on Friday. I think I talked about that in my video when I mentioned my last transaction, then the theoretical model portfolio. 855 was justified as a price, and now with the improvement in the natural gas price, it should be closer to 950 to $10 a share, but it's not. And this could be that the stock market is saying, well, we're looking at the same press release and we see that they're continuing to operate, so we don't think the natural gas price is going to improve based upon supply and demand. So we just are going to stay down here, not bid it up until we get some clarity or some prolonged uptrend in natural gas prices. Prolonged means like a few days longer. 2 or 3 days of up moves are not enough. Like I always like to say that I don't believe in spikes. When I see a spike like this, I assume that, you know, it's been wriggling and going down slowly continuously, and then there's this one spike, and I just assume that usually it will just trend low, and this is kind of what the stocks are telling us here. Cabot Oil and Gas is a much better, clearer view. It's just been going almost straight down all the way into Friday. It hit 1655. I covered my well, sold my put option, so to speak, that I mentioned I had taken out. I had taken it out early May here when it was like $20 and change. I bought a $21 put option, and I didn't sell it down here when I was up 30% or so, and I thought, you know, I thought it would just go straight to my target, which was 1650, and it went up to 22 or maybe more, 24 I think it hit, and I was down like 60% there on my put option, so from plus 30 to minus 60. And then when it came down here, I remember it was down here at $18 and change. That's kind of when I sold it. I had an 80% gain on the put option. Of course I sold it too soon. I should have sold it on Friday, but I didn't. Why did I not do that? Because the target was clear for me. It was $16 to $17 a share, But when it got to this support here, for some reason I believed that, you know, there would be a bounce. I thought it was the right move to take the gain here and then hope for a bounce and then buy another put option at a better, more favorable price, and that didn't happen. So it went down here. Going into Q2, I do think there's a potential of it dropping even further to 1450 to 1350 if the natural gas price does not improve. And you know, if these stocks here are proven to be right and the futures traders here just proven to be day traders or pump and dumpers who just like push prices up in the market to kind of get, you know, retail traders to think there's something happening, a strong up move, and jump into it, then you know, they'll probably collapse at some point. So we will see who's going to be proven to be right. Is CNX really undervalued here, or is the natural gas price overvalued? What's going to happen with Cabot Oil and Gas when we see the Q2 earnings report, which will show really low prices? If we look at the quarter, we can see here from the 2nd of April from 150 to $2.15. That was the max, and it's been all the way down to 145. So we can safely assume that the average for the quarter is probably going to be in the 180 to 170 area, I would say. So obviously that not going to have that good of earnings, but it doesn't mean that, you know, it doesn't mean that they can't achieve a higher price if the natural gas price improves going to the second half of the year. So in conclusion, we had news here. The futures market interpreted different from the stock market. Stock market is skeptical. Futures market is jumping on anything they can grab to push the price higher, and therefore we will see in the coming days, weeks, maybe, what happens. Whether these stocks will collapse a little bit whilst this collapses a lot, or whether they will pop to the upside whilst this does nothing. And of course, collapse doesn't necessarily mean it goes down 50% or 80%. It just means that they go down. Just making a bit of an overstatement there, I guess. But anyway, this is it for the video. Yeah, if you have any questions, comments, opinions, leave them in the comment section. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe, and have a good day.